with the Fraunhofer Institute for Mechatronic System Design, and I will guide you through this presentation. And together with me, I also have some support from our AI Marketplace project, namely Dennis Thyssen with the Fraunhofer Institute, with the Heinz Nixdorf Institute in Paderborn, Julia Gisani from the IDSA, and Rihab Feki, as well as Dr. Dennis Wendland from the Firewire Foundation. So in this session, we would like to give you an overview of the general project in which we developed the AI Marketplace and then also focus on the AI Marketplace platform itself. But before we start a discussion of the project, we would like to introduce AI and data and product creation in general. So the idea here is to show the benefits of product creation and also the challenges that we are trying to address with the AI Marketplace platform. And this part will be presented by Dennis Thyssen. So Dennis, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ruslan. I hope everyone can see now my screen. Okay, then we can start. From my side also, good morning, everyone, and welcome for our presentation at the AI Marketplace. In a few minutes, I will talk about the topics AI and data product creation and why it is important nowadays and also in general for the development of new products and systems. So when we think about product creation, why do we focus on product creation in general? And when we think about some numbers regarding to Germany, then in 2017, the product innovations that were developed and generate a revenue around about 822 billion euros. And this was alone in Germany. So the market size itself behind this is very high. And also for Germany, it is first ranked in the International Innovation Index in the year 2020. So we see that, the foundation for future innovations and systems lays in the product creation. And product creation, what we understand behind this is the way from the idea to get to the start of a production of a product. And how does this actually look like? So when we think about the product creation, we have in mind the reference process for product creation, which consists of 4 cycles. So we start from the idea, go through the cycles and end in the start of production. And within this reference process, we usually start as an ideal concept, most likely with a strategic product planning, where we discuss how the business will look like, which potentials we identify, and which kind of products we want to address. And then further, we have the other cycles regarding the product development, so the classical concept phase, development and integration of a system, as well as service development nowadays, also with the same phases. And in the last step, also the production system development regarding the concept phase, the work planning also, and last but not least, the system integration. Parallel to all these 4 cycles, we also have some cross-sectional processes like the marketing or the project management. And when we look into the detail of the whole reference process, then we can see that not only these 4 cycles with its 15 areas is the main idea behind that, but also within all these areas, we have different process steps, and for each process step also different activities which are done in this step. And why do we focus on AI in general for the product creation? We also wanted to know that, so we kind of made a survey and asked the participants, how do you assess the use of AI in product creation? And as you see here, the results were quite interesting, as we see that around about 50% have not discussed AI and product creation at the time for the survey. So it's widely used that this topic is not addressed in the industry. Around about 28% already talked about it, but only 6% were really having the AI knowledge behind all this. And around about 16% were some kind involved into AI initiatives or development. And when we see this, that it's clear that the advantages associated with AI needs to be further introduced to companies, so that in the future these companies will also have the options, or know the options in general, how they can integrate AI solutions in their product creation process in general and use its potentials for their own. And when we think about AI and product creation, there are different maturity levels which we identified by case studies in general. So we looked into different case studies that were kind of over 1,000 use cases involved. And we ranked it into three, more or less four maturity levels. So we have first not provided, so there's no information provided for this case studies. Maturity level 1 speaks about the application of AI product creation where it's discussed on a theoretical level. Level 2 is then further developed. So there's the real use of product creation data, but it's just under research options. So it's just used in a lab environment. And maturity level 3 is then at least where real data is used for the real development of a project. And when we look into the numbers, the gap between the maturity level 2, where we see that over 45% have used product creation data in the lab environment, the overlapping to the industry is quite slow. So the real use of data in the industry is not very addressed at the moment. So we have a lack of research how we can adapt artificial intelligence in general in the industrial practice. And for the industry, it's very not known how they can really use all this data and concepts for themselves. What we can see here is some kind of examples for different use cases, how AI can support the industry. So most likely you can see that it can help in the development of different kind of mechanical structures, like in the construction of products. Also in the use of business forecasts, so we can analyze trends. And also in the analysis of simulations, for example, for a new car or new kind of system. And the benefits that AI in general has for this sector is that it's increasing development capacities in a very high range. And by this, it also reduces the development time in general. So if we have automation processes behind the development, then we can reduce the development time dramatically. And by this, we can also reduce in the end the manufacturing costs of the final product or a system of software. And why is it so hard to adapt all these concepts? We have to look into the data of product creation. So here's a simple example how we can describe that. So when we think back to the reference process, we have some kind of an area where we say, we kind of in a phase for the product creation process in the product development, where we want to specify specific requirements. And for this, usually we have some artifacts that are generated by each activity. So some kind of product that is made in here in this step. And by this, we may look like here into the requirement specification. And it's simple said, but only for the requirement specification, we analyzed that there are different IT systems used to handle this specification information. So we could use maybe some kind of requirements management tool, also nowadays modeling software, and classically office software. But with all this, there are different challenges that we have to focus on. So when we look into the data, it's often the case that the databases, we see here 3 tools itself, is very intransparent. So we have different domains and different systems where data may or may not lay or is saved. And this is quite hard for the use where we don't know which kind of data we have to address and where we find it. And also by this, if we have different databases and also different engineering tools that are used, then we have tool-specific APIs for different data models, and therefore also specific engineering IT within each domain and also within each company by itself. And for this, it's also quite hard to notify which kind of data formats were then used, because every tool has their own kind of safe data. Not all tools support the standard data at the market. And in general, there are also concerns regarding the data security. So we have, when we think about products that are under development, there are also always some kind of patents or top secret informations for the company. So the data protection and the security is very high ranked. But these are just some examples why it is so hard to handle the data in general in product creation. And when we think about the 2 sides that we want to address, so we have different challenges on the industry side and also on the AI provider side. As I said, the industry side in general has a lack of access to the AI expertise, because it's a quite new field to most kind of industry companies, not all in general, but the smaller ones. And regarding this uncertainty, how they can use AI and how they handle data in general, it is very uncertain for the companies how the data protection is in general used to support them. And this leads immediately then to that the potential of AI in general is insufficiently known. So there's a lot of doubt here. And on the AI provider side, there's the situation that they usually lack the user knowledge. So the different domains that we address with the product creation are not that known in the AI side, as well as I said, the intransparent of the databases in the product creation in the different domains. And by this, we also have some kind of insufficient customer access. And that's why we want to address with AI Marketplace these challenges and these potentials. And for this, Ruslan will lead you into the project itself of the AI Marketplace in the next slides.
Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. It was a great summary. So I'll share my screen again. And while it is preparing, just one additional note that I forgot to mention in the beginning. So we also plan to have a short Q&A session in the end of this session. So if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please just post them in the chat. Of course, you can also contact us afterwards, so we will provide you the contact details so that you can ask them. But nevertheless, you can post at any point during the presentation the open questions or issues you might have. Okay, great. So now Dennis pointed out what the benefits of applying AI in product creation are, but also which challenges there are when it comes to the application of AI, especially in the industry. And exactly these challenges were the motivation to start the project AI marketplace. And here it's important to distinguish between the actual project AI marketplace and the platform AI marketplace, because actually the goal of the project is to build an ecosystem for AI and product creation. And we do this by providing a digital platform which supports the whole ecosystem with a variety of different services. And this platform, it's also called the AI marketplace. So we will first have a look into our current activities in the project AI marketplace, and then also into the platform AI marketplace. And there we will also look into two concrete functionalities that we are currently developing. But let's start with the project AI marketplace. So the goal is, as already mentioned, to build an ecosystem for AI in product creation. And in order to achieve this, we have four main work streams, which are visualized on the slide. And the first work stream is what we actually already talked about. It's the platform itself. So we plan to develop a platform that provides services that especially address the issues of data exchange and deployment of apps, which Dennis just pointed out. Here we plan 4 different development stages. The first development stage is the intelligent matchmaking. So this is mainly about forming the community, bringing together AI experts and solution providers with industry customers who can benefit from their solutions. This is the first stage. Then the second stage is to provide a secure data space. Here we want to support the ecosystem with the possibility to exchange data via the secure data space, but also to monetize their data by selling it to other participants of the ecosystem, and of course also allow other participants to purchase this data. The third development stage is the App Store. Here, this development stage is mainly about providing, deploying, and operating AI applications via the AI marketplace. So here, Rehab will also provide a more detailed insight into what we are planning, but the general idea is to support the whole deployment of AI applications. And finally, we also plan to support the ecosystem with the development of new applications. And in order to do this, we plan to provide a development environment as the fourth development stage of the platform. So throughout the project AI marketplace, the platform is being developed. Here you also see our current state of the prototype. So we are currently working mainly on the App Store. And for the next year, we plan to finalize the App Store and also continue with the development environment. But additionally to the development of the platform, we are also forming a company within the project that will operate the platform after the project ends, and in order to make sure that this platform also exists over a longer duration of time to support the ecosystem. Besides the platform itself, we are also working on a variety of concrete AI applications for product development. These activities are mainly driven by our industry partners. So here you see an overview of the currently running pilot projects which develop these applications. Basically, we cover the whole process, starting from product monitoring in order to generate new ideas for products up until the, for example, the AI-based manufacturability analysis, which is used to evaluate to which extent product can be manufactured. And the idea is to provide these applications also to the ecosystem via the AI marketplace in a generalized form, so without the company-specific data. The fourth main work stream is our research activities. So we also do a lot of research, especially when it comes to data formats, to suitable AI approaches for product creation, and especially also the potentials for AI in product creation. And the research results are, of course, also published as scientific publications and placed on conferences. But all the content, all the insights that we generate, we also try to put it on the platform to make it accessible for the whole ecosystem. And actually, you can already access the information material by going to our webpage. Here, for example, you see our potential map, which provides an overview of possible AI use cases in product creation. The fourth main work stream is the development of concrete services for the ecosystem. So here we provide a variety of services that support the ecosystem to apply AI in product creation. Here you see two examples of these services. The first one is our AI potential analysis. This is an offline service, so you can contact us via the AI marketplace platform to purchase the service, but afterwards it is conducted offline. So basically an AI marketplace expert is provided to the company to conduct potential analysis and to identify suitable AI use cases for the company that acquires this service. And the second example is the AI Readiness Check. This is an online service, so you can directly use this service on the platform. And basically it's a survey that a company can take in order to get feedback on their AI readiness, and especially also on how to increase the AI readiness of the company. Okay, so this was an overview of the general activities within the AI marketplace, and now we would like to talk about two concrete functionalities that especially support data exchange and also the provisioning of AI applications. And before we do this, I would just like to summarize again the main functionalities that we plan for the platform. So we already saw the 4 development stages. We start with intelligent matchmaking, secure data space, app store, and finally with the development environment. And what this actually means is visualized on this slide. So for the first stage, the intelligent matchmaking, here we provide a variety of community services. For example, industry companies can create challenges on the AI marketplace for which AI providers can apply based on their competencies and suggest possible solutions. And finally, the industry company can select a suitable collaboration partner. So here, and our main focus is on setting up new projects in the scope of AI in product creation. And for example, we also provide a matchmaking algorithm which recommends partners based on their competence profiles or their interests. In a second development stage, we are focusing on data. And here we plan to provide data management functionalities that allow users to upload and exchange their data via the AI marketplace. And the provided data packages, they can either be made directly accessible to collaboration partners, of course, in a controlled way, so that the provider of the data can always control how the other collaboration partners access the data packages. But also we provide here the option to monetize data by selling it over the AI marketplace to other platform participants. Additionally, we are currently working on the deployment of applications. So here we are talking about concrete software applications, especially AI-based applications. And the idea is to support their deployment or their provisioning over the AI marketplace. And the great advantage here is that we can bring together data and apps, so we can directly train our AI applications on the AI marketplace or provide the service of training this AI applications if requested by the user. Another important topic is, of course, the deployment. So training alone is the first step, but then we also have to think about how the app is actually provided to the end user. And this is one of the major work streams that we have right now. Here we basically support two different approaches. Either the customer can directly host the application on the AI marketplace, or we can provide a hostable container that the company can then host on their own infrastructure, depending on the preferences and also the expertise of the company. Finally, for the next year, we plan to address the connection to other data spaces. This is also the reason why IDS and the IDSA plays such an important role for our consortium. So here we want to enable not only direct uploads of data, but also the exchange of data with our data spaces to enable better data access for the AI marketplace. And finally, we also plan to address the topic of app development. So up until now, we have projects set up, we have the deployment of apps, training of apps, and now the next logical step is also to support the development. So here we want to provide development tools and methods that allow users to combine existing applications and data packages on the AI marketplace to develop new applications for AI in product creation. Okay, so now in the following, we would like to go into two concrete functionalities which we are currently mainly focusing on, and these are first the provisioning of data and AI applications, and second also the connection with the IDS ecosystem. But first, let's continue with the deployment, provisioning of data and apps, and this is the part which Rehab will present. So Rehab, I would hand over to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Ruslan, for this introduction of the AI Marketplace platform. I hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, so now I'll take over and present for you how do we plan to implement the provisioning of data and AI applications on the AI Marketplace. First, we see here an overview of the data and the data marketplace. This is where apps are shared and are going to be exchanged between a participant within a data space. But the subject of this presentation will be the next step, which is how do we plan to provision this data into a given AI service, and how do we enable that an AI service is easily integrated into the IT infrastructure and systems of a manufacturing company. First, let's have an overview of the general architecture. Here, you can see the different participants with their corresponding environments and components, starting with an example of an AI consumer, which has a manufacturing company in which he has set up an IoT system to keep track of the data of its machines in the production line, since it wants to have some predictive maintenance functionalities, and this would be the challenge which they're gonna propose on the AI marketplace. And to get later the prediction results, they're having some kind of dashboard or application to be able to visualize these results. On the other hand, we have the AI provider, and it is operating an AI service which is trained with some historical data, and yeah, and then this AI service will be published on the AI marketplace to be accessed later on by some consumers. Let me elaborate also on the other components which we see in this architecture, starting with the context broker. You can see here that we have two instances in both the AI provider side and the consumer side. And the context broker is a fireware generic labeler, which provides a RESTful API to exchange data in real time between applications. And it provides means to represent a digital twin of a physical system, which is here the manufacturing company, and which has a set of attributes and values representing the system, which is in this case the machines. And that's relying on a standard, which is the NGSI LD standard. On the other hand, we have a trust authority. This is a component managed by the AI marketplace to ensure trust among the participants, especially that there will be data exchange and there will be access to the different systems of the participants. And this trust authority is implemented based on the iShare satellite, that it could verify that the requests coming from the participants are trusted. Now, I would like to elaborate on the components of the identity and access management control, starting with the identity provider. You can see that every participant has their identity provider, which is enabling them the authentication and authorization on the AI marketplace. We have here also the authorization registry component. This is where the policies and access rights are specified, and and the standard for these authorization policies is within iShare is a JSON port of XML. Last but not least, we have the PEP proxy and PDP. This is a component for handling access and management control. Let's have now an overview of the AI service and the infrastructure of it. So for your notice, we are treating a use case of predictive maintenance of machine and the cause of fault. So first, from the context broker, there will come the input data. And this data is coming from the other context broker on the consumer side, as you already have seen. And this data will have to pass by a first step, which is the data preprocessing, where there will be the parsing and the extraction of the attributes needed for the inference phase. Then once we have this data, it will trigger the calculation of the predictions. These predictions will also go through another step, which is for some transformation and processing to update the prediction attributes in this context broker, which are later going to be forwarded to the context broker on the AI consumer side. Let's see right now how all of this will be put into practice in an AI service usage scenario. So it will be a machine-to-machine communication between these two context brokers. And we would like this process to be automated. And this is thanks to a functionality which the context broker offers, which is a subscription notification. And what it takes is that, for example, the AI provider subscribes to the context broker of the consumer side, that they get notified whenever there's an update of the attributes in their system. And same for the consumer. after having some new predictions calculated, they would like to receive them by a notification. But to have that, this context broker of the consumer side has to also subscribe to the context broker on the provider side, that they get notified whenever there's a new prediction calculated. And of course, this exchange will be trust will be like secured, and that's enabled through the trust authority, where it checks that these participants are having a certificate that is trusted. And yeah, now I will go through the steps for the creation of the offering. This will be between the AI provider and in a marketplace where there's an AI provider which like to offer their AI service. And the first step is to log in to the marketplace with their identity provider. Then there's a step to check if this provider is trusted. And once that is done, he is able to share his AI service and provide a description to it. And one other additional step, which is important, is to signal and specify the access rights which he is going to allow to the consumer once they acquire access to their system. And this will be precised in the authorization registry that the marketplace will create later, these policies where on behalf of this AI provider, whenever there's a consumer which like to access this AI service. And we're going to see this in detail in this slide for the acquisition of rights and activation of an AI service. So taking an example of an AI consumer, which logs into the marketplace. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's a step to verify their that they are a trusted participant. And in this step, once they want to acquire access to this AI service, the marketplace will create the policies specified in the offering, that they could do the subscriptions on the context broker of the AI provider. And same for the AI consumer, he also has to specify the access rights, which are going to enable this AI provider to also do the subscription to receive the prediction. So this was basically it, the idea of how we would like to implement the data and apps provisioning on the marketplace. So now I would like to handle the speech for my colleague, Gulia Ghazani, and yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rihab. So while Julia is starting to share her screen, maybe a short introduction. So Rihab summarized pretty well how we plan to exchange, how we plan to bring together data and AI applications. And here we made the assumption that this data comes from one concrete company. And of course, this is the usual case, but especially for AI applications, one critical concern is always also the initial training data, which might not come from the company itself, but maybe also from other sources. And since there are currently a lot of different initiatives being started, especially in Europe, to provide such data spaces, it's of course a critical concern for us to also be consistent to these data spaces, to allow data exchange and from other data spaces as well. And this is exactly the topic that Julia will now address. And I see the slides are already there, so I'll directly hand over.
Perfect. Thank you, Ruslan. I hope you can hear me properly. Great. So let's jump into the topic of data spaces. So as Ruslan already mentioned, the reason why we have this topic within AI Marketplace project is that we want the AI Marketplace to be forward-looking and to be ready to what's coming next. So what we are witnessing is a true paradigm shift in the data economy towards this concept of data spaces. But what do we actually mean with this term? This term refers to a federated approach to data exchange. So we do not want to bring all the data in one data pool, and we really want to break down data silos. And we want each and every endpoint to be able to communicate easily with each other. So when you think about a data space, you should really think about the sum of all these different endpoints that are able to share data with each other. And this is one major issue that we witness, but this is not the only one, because on one hand side, we really want to enable free data flows, but on the other hand side, we're also pretty concerned about how the data will be used. So this is why, as IDSA, we truly believe that we want to enable data sovereignty within these data spaces, so that we really find a trade-off between unlimited interoperability, free data flows, and data ownership in a secure environment. How does IDSA bring this into practice? We have three main core pillars. The first one is, as mentioned, this unlimited interoperability. So we really want scalability in this approach. We want to enable multiple endpoints to be able to easily communicate with each other. The second one is trust, because we want these data spaces to be really secure. And to do this, we mainly have this certification process to enable trustworthy relationship between all the different players. And the third one is governance, because for data sovereignty, data usage control is really a key. So we want to be able to have governance of the data. Something that is also very important here is also governance of the data space itself. Because as you can imagine, we will have plenty of participants, we will have plenty of providers, and all these roles will need to be really orchestrated. So this is also something that IDSA is taking care of with its holistic approach. So just to give an overview, a data space will look like something like this. We will have, or we have this trusted environment, which is the light blue circle here in the middle. And all the participants will be able to share data with each other directly, thanks to a very important component, which is the IDS connector. And the IDS connector is basically a gateway that enables these different systems to communicate with each other. This is really the basics. And how does this fit with AI Marketplace? The scenario looks like something like this. So we have the AI Marketplace that will be able to enter these data spaces thanks to its own IDS connector. So you can see the traditional stakeholder network here on the left-hand side, the AI Marketplace being somehow the kind of an intermediary. And you can see the future stakeholder network of data spaces on the right-hand side. How are we doing this? Fiverr and engineering have come up with an IDS connector, which is called True Connector, which will be used by the AI Marketplace. And all the different components will be tested thanks to a testbed provided by Nikos Agi. So this is also very important because the IDS connector is only one of the components that are needed to make a data space work. So these testbed will really play a crucial role to make the real connection within data spaces. Why is this so important? Because we really want the AI Marketplace to be ready to the future needs of the market, as also the European Strategy for Data has highlighted. So the European Strategy for Data foresees or emphasizes a free data flow within EU and across sectors based on the FAIR principles. And the IDS approach is totally in line with this. It's a holistic approach, it's technology agnostic and domain agnostic, and really has the vision to achieve these. IDSA has quite a lot of experience on this topic. We've been working on this concept for almost 6 years now. And IDSA is basically a not-for-profit association that is coordinating the activity for the creation of this standard for data exchange. We currently have more than 130 members from 22 countries. But actually, this is not the whole the single community that is working on this new paradigm for data exchange. We are very well connected to several other initiatives that are supporting from different ends the creation of data spaces. And we are very happy to announce that we have recently started a new, more formal collaboration with 3 of the others forerunners on this topic, which are BDVA, Fiverr, and GaiaX. So what we are currently working on is joining forces to speak with one voice and to create a common framework to make data spaces happen. So we are very happy about it. We are putting all our expertise together to really make data spaces happen and get started of this new era of the data economy. So that was my quick insight on what's happening from the data spaces perspective and why this is so relevant for AI marketplace to be forward-looking and to be ready for this new phase. Now back to you, Ruslan. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, I was still muted. Yeah, thank you very much, Julia, for the great overview of our of the collaboration between IDSA and the AI marketplace. And maybe let me just summarize with an overview of our current partners as well as possible options for interested parties to participate here. And here we have a complete overview of the partner list. So the consortium consists of 17 partners who are actively developing the platform. And additionally, we have 56 associated partners. And it is still possible to join as an associated partner. Associated partners usually support different aspects of the project, so mainly focusing either on the research side or supporting the development of the platform, and therefore also having the option to directly influence the platform development and to plan the functionalities of the platform. What we are currently also really interested in are beta users, so users that would like either to test the prototype of the AI marketplace and of the functionalities that we presented today, but also users who would like to create solutions, AI marketplace solutions that will be hosted via the platform. Besides this, we also already provide a variety of services focusing especially on industry companies, and these services are tailored to industry companies to support their application of AI in these companies. Here you see 4 services, namely the data checkup, the potential analysis, which I also presented during my part, the AI readiness check, and we also conduct regular events. So if you are interested into these services, just go on the webpage and you'll find additional information about this. Yeah, last but not least, I would like also to give an overview of our contact details. So of course, we are always interested in getting in touch with you. So if you have any questions also after this session, please just contact us. And now I suggest that we have a short look into questions, if there are any. Just have to figure out where you can see this. Okay, so I get the feedback. Currently no questions. Great, then we are running out of time anyways. So Yeah, then I would like, first of all, to thank all the speakers today who presented the different parts of this session. And yeah, so I think our contact details should also be accessible via the platform that is used to host this event. So please, if you have any questions afterwards, just contact us via the platform. Okay, then thank you all for participating in the session. And then we can close the session.
All right,
okay.
Goodbye, everyone.